What's up? What's up? Earl in the house. Let's see how this. We're gonna play a little bit with certain things. A little bit better. Maybe. There we go. I don't like that. We're just playing around here. I like to have the whole Earl sign there. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Get my big head out of the way. Welcome, guys. This is Earl's review of AEW Dynamite. We're going to do a dual episode of my Kings season preview. Thank you, Ross Incognito. I would be doing this tonight, but I'm on a roast tonight. What up? I knew you guys would be the first two in. Tonight, if you've ever seen the movie Blood In, Blood Out, it's an iconic prison movie, Hispanic prison movie. I think when you think prison movies of the last 20 or 30 years, you think, you think Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. But Shawshank Redemption, American Me, which is a great Edward J. Olmos movie with a lot of history behind it. A contract was put out on his life because of that movie. Yes. And like 7 people have died from American Me because the Mexican mob was not exactly happy with how they were portrayed. So there is a movie that stands out from the rest because it's always on. Oz was a good prison series, but I'm talking about more movies. And get a little closer here. See. Yeah, that works. Called Blood In, Blood Out. And it's always on. And it's like a 2.5, close to 3-hour movie. And we are roasting, if you know the movie, the great character Popeye. It was a pretty good prison movie. Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, one of the coordinators in the movie was killed in her driveway because she was deemed as helping them make a movie that was not favorable towards La M.A., the Mexican mob. And the rumors are Edward James Olmos had to pay them $1 million to not kill him. But Blood In, Blood Out, it's a serious movie, but it's so tongue-in-cheek that there's a lot of funny scenes in it. And tonight we are roasting Popeye, who was the main bad guy in the movie. I, of course, if you are familiar with the movie, will be playing Big Al, the racist pedophile, who is probably the most beloved character in the movie. So that's why I'm doing this AEW preview or review of Dynamite and a little bit of NHL hockey talk. I love Lieutenant Castillo. People always ask me what my favorite episode of Miami Vice is, and there's several. most of them from the early years, because in the last two seasons of Miami Vice, George Perez actually is hosting the roast. He set it up. So, and I got a taste of George played a sold out show in the main room of the Comedy Store a few months ago, and he brought Popeye there, and like everyone wanted to meet Popeye. And apparently, they've invited a lot of guys from the film. Damian Chapa, who played Miklo, he declined. I think they asked Big Al to come, but when your biggest role ever is playing a racist pedophile, uh, you probably don't want to come to the roast, knowing what the jokes will be. Tawny's the best. I would too. I think Ronda Rousey has it, or Piper, his daughter. Um, so, and I just woke up, to be honest with you, so I'm a little slow off the gate. But let's get into AEW Dynamite. Title Tuesday. A lot of people think they did that to kind of compete with NXT, which was very stacked as well. I think John Cena was there and a couple others. I don't really watch WWE, so I don't. Have favorite? No, Jeff Ross will not be there. I believe he asked to be on it, from what I was told. But he's never seen that movie, so he wouldn't have been good. And that's not me saying that just because I don't like the guy. Everyone knows I don't, and we don't have to get into the reasons why again. But what's going to make this? I hope AEW makes it. But the show started off. But what's going to make this roast great tonight is that everyone on the dais has seen the movie 100 times. So we're all fans of the show or the movie. Do I think AEW will make it? It's. I think AEW's problem, and I said this with my friend last night who I was watching it with. By the way, my friend Chris Ramirez, we started comedy together. He got me the best shirt from Power Trip, which was the metal festival held this weekend. Basically where Coachella is. It was like the heavy metal Coachella. He got me a Power Trip shirt with Beavis and Butthead. It was really good. Yeah, Undertaker looks a little rough. But I can tell you, I get it. Well, I think from what I saw, the ratings for, I think NXT beat AEW by 100,000. So getting back to Ross's question of do I think AEW will make it? It's tough. I mean, you're going up against a 50-year company whose production values are insane. I mean, you're probably never going to beat them in a production value. So I think if you go into this competition knowing that, and you just put on the best show you can with good storylines, and to me, AEW has the far better wrestling. Well, I mean, I didn't watch it, so I'll take your word on it, Jordan. But it's a tough one. I mean, because I think AEW caters towards supermarks, and what I mean by that is, like, I'm a mark for AEW, but I don't know a lot about the wrestlers they bring over from New Japan. Yeah, I mean, they're. I think both companies are guilty of, sometimes some of the punches not landing and whatnot. But it is tough to throw a fake punch. It's not as easy as it looks. If you think back to, what was it, 2 years ago in AEW when they had that stable from, I think, American Top Team with Dan Lambert, who I liked as a heel manager. For a guy who had no experience in the wrestling vein. He was really good, but he had a stable of actual fighters from the UFC and Bellator. He had Andre Arlovsky, who was a UFC heavyweight champion, Junior Dos Santos, who was a UFC heavyweight champion, and you could tell they had trouble. Um, yeah, I mean, well, it all depends on the chemistry, but you could tell that the actual real fighters had trouble pulling their punches. I mean, a fake punch is, or not a fake punch, but a work punch is a lot different than a real one. And when your whole life you've been training to throw real punches, it's tough. I mean, Jake Hager actually does a really good job. He's made that transition, although they don't use him that much. He's very good at making his punches look real, which is impressive because his whole life he's been a legit Division One wrestler. But I mean, I don't know what you mean by can AEW make it. See, I hear that question. Well, I mean, you're right on that one, but I think AEW is the better workers, um, and I think there's a us against them mentality over there right now. But I think when I hear can AEW make it, well, I mean, but yeah, you could go financially. They've made a profit, so they're making it. You could go well, the ratings aren't really catching up to WWE, so they're not making it. Um, well, I think that like they pulled off the London card, which is their WrestleMania, and it was a very good card, and they had the luxury of also pulling guys and girls from New Japan. But I think that's kind of the problem. Is like when Jay White debuted. Now everyone knows who he is, but when he debuted, I forgot who he attacked. But a lot of my friends were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" The same thing when Will Ospreay came. Who's him? Who are these two guys united in Empire? I My ex tried to get me into the Office. I wasn't feeling it. I like John Krasinski and Jack Ryan though. Um, so it's. I think Tony Khan needs an idea guy or girl to help him with the storylines. Like, there's not a lot of follow through. Like, if you look at the masked man who attacked Jay White, that was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they barely mentioned it since. So it's like, who was it? And like the Roderick Strong, Adam Cole storyline's pretty good because they're doing weekly segments on it. They're building it. But then, like Will Ospreay, he has these great matches with Jericho and Omega, two great matches with Omega, and then he just kind of disappears. And I don't like him in the Don Callis faction. He's strong enough to be on his own. Yeah, I mean, they did mention it a little bit last night, but it was almost a throwaway line. So it's just like, and now people don't really care. So it's definitely not something that I would have done. Yeah, well, I mean, hold on, I didn't see that last one. I mean, yeah, but that could be funny, the MJF and you know the the guy stalking MJF, but that's a short term thing, I think. Um, but I think AEW just they need better storytelling because they've already got WWE beat with the wrestling. If you look at the wrestlers they have over there, it's pretty impressive. Omega, Osprey, Jay White, MJF's good, Swerve Strickland's good, Danielson's good, Zack Saber's amazing. But even like with Zack Saber, they didn't really do a good job of building him up, so people care. I think the problem in AEW, frankly, is oh yeah, and Danhausen. Danhausen's still the number one selling merch. He hasn't wrestled in a year. And nor should he. I mean, if you're Danhausen, why would you wrestle if your merch just kills it? But they need like someone for Tony Khan to bounce ideas off of. Like how I would have done Adam Copeland, and then we'll get into Dynamite. Is I would have had him, Christian and Darby having this great match, hard hitting, violent. Luchasaurus comes down to the ring with a bat, a chair, some kind of weapon, a brick. The weapon doesn't really matter. And then everyone thinks, oh, he's going to give it to Christian. So when Christian turns around and says to Darby, "You think you know me?" He turns back to get the weapon, and Luchasaurus hits Christian, and Darby does a heel turn. So Christian and Darby are beating the shit out of Christian. And then, I'm sorry, Luchasaurus and Darby are beating the shit out of Christian. And then Adam / Edge's music hits. And then what you do is, I do believe that. You have a tag match in the LA show in November. Christian and Edge versus Luchasaurus and Darby and or Nick Wayne. You could make it a trios match if you want. I wouldn't, but you could have Christian, Edge, and Sting against Darby, Nick, and Luchasaurus. And then the whole rest of the year, you have Christian and Edge as a tag team, but there's a slow boil between them. And then in London, I'm assuming they're going to do a London 2, which is 10 months away. You have Edge and Christian. That's a money match with a nice build up. So that's how I would have done it. But let's get into it. So last night the show started with Christian in the control room, cutting a nice heel promo in the truck, saying that he's the reason the first half hour is free from commercials, which is exactly what NXT was doing. And then they go to Swerve Strickland and Brian Danielson. And the winner gets Christian in a title shot at Collision on Saturday. Great match, great storytelling, great technical work. A little bit of Prince Nana, who is growing on me. We're in the money. I used to not like him. Like, I remember the last few episodes of the Comedy Store Wrestling podcast. I was like, this guy doesn't really do anything. And but he's growing on me. Yeah, I mean, Swerve Strickland's great. I mean, I would say that the WWE dropped the ball with him. He's a star. He has it. Now, I don't know what it is, but he's got it. Like, you just want to watch him. And, he doesn't really need to say a lot on the mic. He's very good. And that's what Prince Nana is for. I don't know if the faction he's in is... He's good on his own. Nothing against the Gates of Agony or Brian Cage, who I'm a fan of, but I just think that, sometimes when you put a guy with a group, it muddies them. Like, I don't think Will Ospreay should be in the Callis family. You could maybe sales pitch me United Empire because they're a threesome in New Japan. And I love United Empire, but I don't know. I just think that some guys are just better on their own. Now you take a guy like Satnam Singh, he's good in a group because he's not really wrestling yet, obviously because of his thick accent. It's kind of hard to understand him, so he needs a mouthpiece. So Sanjay Dutt is perfect for him. But it was a great match. Danielson won. And, I would like to see them wrestle again. I like the bunch. Like the Jarrett group, which includes Satnam Singh, the great Jay Lethal, my buddy from the Ric Flair roast. They're kind of and Karen Jarrett, she's a great heel. And obviously, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, he's still fun to watch for me. I loved it when he wrestled against Omega because that was like a match you'd never really expect to see, and it was good. They're kind of a group that I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'd like to see Jay Lethal by himself because he's funny and he can talk. Same thing with Jeff Jarrett. And I think sometimes there's so many people in that group, it muddies everyone who's in it. But so Hangman saves Danielson when he took Prince Nana's crown. I don't know if I agree with you, Jordan, that Hangman will join Swerve, but it is pro wrestling, so who knows? But that's the problem with ROH is that there's so many AEW guys that go in and out of it. I don't really know if it's ROH. So it's not. I wish they would keep it separate and for the younger talent. There's so many people on the roster that, I think like you could make Brian Cage the champion and he could thrive there. And then maybe in the London card you could have like New Japan, ROH, and obviously AEW. But it just like I don't really consider most of the ROH champions true ROH. Like Claudio, I think Eddie Kingston, to me they're all AEW. Yeah, I mean Jungle Boy's kind of disappeared. Like the guy has great heat, and that's the typical AEW move. We saw the same thing with Wardlow, who we saw last night in a squash match against Matt Sydal. I don't know that it just. I mean, they butchered Wardlow, but we'll get to him in a second. So the second match was essentially Chris Jericho putting Powerhouse Hobbs over. I mean, Jericho got in some offense, but Hobbs. I see it's tough for me because I know him. He was at a comedy show I was on, and he's so nice. And I messaged him the other day. I'm like, bro, I can't buy you as this badass heel when you were like so nice to me at the comedy show, which is kind of the only reason I don't want to meet these guys. Because when you see Wardlow reminds me. Well, let's finish up with Powerhouse Hobbs and Jericho. Great match. It really showcased Hobbs' heel tendencies, and with Don Callis by his side, and Jericho. That's what I love about Jericho is he puts younger talent over, but he doesn't lose his character. Which was always my point with Triple H and defeating Sting. Like Triple H should have put Sting over because Triple H's character is so rock solid, win or lose, he's still Triple H. where Sting needed to be put over with that crowd because a lot of the kids didn't know who he was. And, you know, now that Hobbs had a convincing victory against Jericho, it makes people stand up and take notice with Hobbs and go, oh, he's a badass, man. So, you know, that was fun to see, and I'm happy. And, you know, you look at Jericho today, he's still Jericho. But now Hobbs is, oh man, he beat Jericho last night on Title Tuesday. So, you know, that was readjusting the light here. I'm a one-man operation here. And so that was a fun match. So it was a great start. And then the next match was Rey Fenix against Cassidy. And it's kind of a more serious side of Cassidy. Not quite as much goofing around. And he was victorious in a very good match with Phoenix. And that was for the, for the International Championship. Good match. You know, nothing really stood out as like, oh my God, you know, I've got to see this. Well, I think Cassidy's one of those ones who's such a good wrestler that, you know, I think sometimes the humor takes away from his actual abilities. Lois is with my ex. They're doing construction next door. So sorry about some of the noise. Like I said, I don't have my own studio. I ain't Rogan, man. I'm a one-man operation. So, you know, it's good to see Cassidy get back on the winning track. Yeah, I don't do that anymore, William. And, you know, it's not my life anymore. So then we get to the Wardlow squash match, which, I don't know. I mean, they're kind of regurgitating, you know, the initial storyline when they brought Wardlow in, as he's this unstoppable Goldberg-type monster. And like I was saying a few minutes ago, like, Wardlow to me reminds me, you're right, William, and I ain't no quitter, but Wardlow to me reminds me of Mike Awesome. Like, about the same size, although Mike Awesome might have been a little taller, but just insane athletic ability for a guy that size. Hello! I know, it's horrible. That's why I'm trying to move out of here. You know, it's just, that's another podcast, though. So, I just, you know, I was a big Mike Awesome fan. I'm on a roast tonight, so I have to do this a little earlier today. Knowing the algorithm, like I don't like to compete against anyone in the Dabbleverse. So knowing that Kevin Brennan starts at 1, and then I think Chad starts at 2, and then I think Shuley Network. I don't think they have a show on right now, and Ray does things later. You know, I do them, you know, just when I'm randomly on the street. Problem with the energy drink reviews is they don't really chew up a lot of time, so they get put into the shorts category, and I'm trying to stream more, to get my hours up and whatnot. But you know, it's a work in progress here. But I hope Wardlow. I mean, right now it just sucks because if they wouldn't have butchered him and just done this, well, thank you very much. You know, right from the beginning, that he'd be on this like Goldberg, like, you know, 200 no streak. And hold on, yeah. I wish I knew a way to keep the chat up permanently. Yeah. No, that was funny. But that was a random one. That was just my friend doing that. Well, I mean, I understand what they're doing with Wardlow, but if they just would have done this from the beginning, like, and then, like, it's wrestling. Anyone can come back. Anyone can be in a good storyline, and their careers are resuscitated. But so by the time London rolls around, you could really have a nice thing with Wardlow if you give him a good opponent. Um, a rematch with MJF. I wouldn't be against because they do have a story there. What up? What up? What up? Yeah, I mean, him and Hobbs would be good. Two big men. I mean, like I said, a rematch with MJF. Even Wardlow and Kenny Omega would be good. I mean, two different styles. Wardlow against Mox be very violent. You have Wardlow against Bryan Danielson. You could have, Wardlow against Will Ospreay would be interesting. It's kind of two different styles. Um, you could have Wardlow against Davis from United Empire. I'm not saying that would be a major feud, but um, you know, there's a lot of good matches for him. So if it's done right, I think um, Jim Florentine's the best. Yeah, I mean, you could have Wardlow and Andrade would be good. I mean, Wardlow and Adam Copeland would be good. I mean, there's 10 matches you easily that could be headlining events. Even Wardlow and Swerve would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, Buddy Matthews, is underused. Really, House of Black is the three of them are underused. I'd love to see Wardlow and Buddy Matthews. Wardlow and Malachi Black would be great. Wardlow and I'm spacing out right now. The guy from the beard, from the big guy with the beard, who goes oof oof. In House of Black would be good. But they seem to. Yeah, I do like Julia Hart. Like, but that's another thing. Like, here she is. Like, they're building her up. They've made her into, last year she was just kind of a side piece in House of Black, and now she's good. Her 450 is off the top of the rope. I think, or like, oh shit, she's talented. So there's the talent level in AEW is not the problem. It's really just, I think they have so many wrestlers on the roster that, look at Miro. Miro's a great talent. Miro and Wardlow would be good. Yeah, I mean, Statlander doesn't really do it for me. I don't know why. That's why when I knew she beat Jade, I'm like, oh man, this is Jade's last match. They're making her lose on her way out. And of course, Mercedes Monet, aka Sasha Banks. She's, I think I was at the match where she broke her ankle. It was a New Japan match in Long Beach. Uh, so, her coming in, I bet they will do some counter programming. When Jade Cargill starts rolling, they'll break out Sasha Banks. So it'll be interesting. Jay White and Wardlow would be interesting. Big guy against a smaller guy who can move. I think I just hope they stick with it because Wardlow is a star. I tried watching Impact. It's a little rough, to be honest with you. But Osprey is there for I think a few matches with their champion. So it'll be interesting. Well, I just hey, what's up, Sucker Punch? I think you're new to the party. Thank you very much. Yeah, but that fits her character, the ego. Sorry, I have to go like this every time I get a chat. My vision's horrible, and it's worse in the morning for some reason. Like anytime I read a book, um, I have to read at night because my eyes are really strained in the morning. Um, I wish there was a way to make the font bigger of the chats, but so I mean, getting back to Wardlow, I mean, there's probably 15 matches that Wardlow could have. So Wardlow and Omega would be good. So we'll see. I mean, he's going to be, squashing guys like he did before. So I don't know why they, maybe there was some behind the scenes stuff that, we didn't see. And, you know, yeah, I mean, Jade, I think is a more muscular version of Mercedes. I've been living with this shit for 6 months. How's a guy supposed to stream with that shit going on in the background? Um, so we'll see. I mean, but let's get back to the review of Dynamite. Next match was Jay White and Hangman Page. Great. Yeah, I wish. A great match with Jay White and Hangman. Hangman's kind of a, you know, kind of a gatekeeper right now. Like that's the guy you beat to really get you over. Although I think Jay White is over already. Um, it was a good. I do kind of like Jay White just taking MJF's belt, and I was kind of Jay White is another uh, one of those guys who, in my opinion, I don't think he needs a faction. I just think he's so good on the mic and so good in the ring. He's like Osprey, Omega. He doesn't need a faction, but the Guns, who I'm friends with in full disclosure, and Juice Robinson, they are pretty funny together. And I love Juice Robinson. I've seen him at New Japan in Long Beach. He's very good. And the only thing that was a little tone deaf, and it was kind of WWE-ish, is when Juice Robinson had the line about the quarters with MJF, like a little anti-Semitic there, and obviously given that Israel is in the news a lot this week for World War III starting. A little toned. Yeah, and I love inappropriate humor. Yeah, it did fall flat for sure, but it was just a little like I don't know. I mean, it was funny to me, but like you know, you knew that would go viral, and and I saw some lines that say. Tony Khan allowed an anti-Semitic line, and Juice Robinson should be suspended, and um, I don't know. I mean, and you got to figure MJF's not going to lose to Juice Robinson, but that will be a good match. Juice Robinson is a good worker. Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. If you go, it was the match right before the women's title. You know, I don't talk about politics a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, from the moment I get up, I'm watching CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. I literally go to all three networks because that's fair and balanced. And to be honest with you, on Inappropriate Earl, by the way, new episode. And I treat Inappropriate Earl like AEW treats Wardlow. I had a good run. I got shadow banned because I bought followers or downloads for it, and then I kind of just lost the edge to do it. But Friday afternoon, Aaron Volpati, NHL player turned positive speaker, um, is coming on to tell his amazing journey in the world of pro hockey. He had a horrible burn accident before hockey, was told he'd never play again, got to the NHL, and now is a positive speaker. So, some interesting things in the Jay White Bullet Club, MJF world. You could tell that, I mean, Jay White and MJF is happening in LA in November, but I will guess what they will do. If I'm the booker, you have MJF beat Juice Robinson, you have him beat the Guns individually, so he's building up, knocking off all the Bullet Club members. And then I mean, MJF's he's an interesting bird because his contract is up in 2024. So I don't know if you would have him lose to Jay White. Now, MJF was signed long term. I would say you could have him lose to Jay White, and then they rematch, and they have a back and forth, and because that's gonna be a great. Both guys great on the mic. Jay White probably has the edge technically in the ring, but MJF does not get the credit. He's so good on the mic, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He's a pretty good wrestler. He's young. He's only 26, so I'm looking forward to Jay White and MJF one-on-one. And then, so we have that match, and the quarter line kind of fell flat. And then we had the women's match, women's world champion chip with Saraya against Hikaru Shida, who's been with the company from day one. Good match. I mean, not great. There's just something. Shida just, I don't know, like, there's just something about her that I don't love. I mean, like, she's a good worker. You can tell she's happy to be in the ring. But I don't know. I'm not. She doesn't have it for me. And, I don't like to body shame or be too conscious of talking about people's bodies. I would like if people did it about me. But Soraya's tits looked bigger last night, like noticeably bigger. So I don't know if she got a new boob job or something, but that was probably my biggest takeaway from the match. And an upset. She'd beat her. I mean, kind of a couple side pieces. Yeah, but they looked bigger last night. Like, I met her at the Ric Flair roast and we took a picture together, and last night I was like, Jesus Christ, they look like a full cup size bigger. But you had Masked Ruby Soho come out, and then Tony Storm came out and beat her up with a shoe. I do like Tony Storm's new, like, 50s silent movie actress character. And the interviews she does with RJ City, friend of the show, are, but they were like a lot bigger. Like, at first I thought it was the bra, and then there was a shot of them in the corner when she was punching Sheeta, and she went like this, and like they were like noticeably bigger. So, good for her, I guess. Good for us, because we get to watch them in high def. Hello! And it was an upset. I thought Saraya would win, but, maybe they're trying to build up Sheeta a little bit. I mean, Saraya's almost in that category of, like, Triple H and Jericho, where she can lose, and it's not going to kill her. Like, she's still going to get a big pop when she walks out. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was. I'm not complaining, but I thought it was a little weird that Saray would lose on Title Tuesday. But it kind of does get Sheeta over a little bit. And then we go to the main event, which was Adam Copeland. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's got a. Because if you ever notice, like my friend Taya Valkyrie, she's known for her heavy chest chops, but you could tell like she always hits almost at the collarbone area, and she has like big boobs too. So you could tell when someone slaps her, it's almost like here instead of there. And I would imagine, I don't know who's natural and who isn't in terms of their boobs. Um, that a chest chop on like fake boobs would you could rupture the implants. So I think Taya is natural, but seeing that her husband could kick my ass, we'll just leave it at that. Um, so and then you have someone like Ruby Soho who like not gigantic up top, like you could probably hit her a little closer. But I'm sure they work that out. I just think it's funny that, well, I mean, like Charlotte has, I believe, implants, and I mean, Tony Storm, I think, is natural. Um, I think the Bunny, who I have a crush on, but she's married to I think the Blade. So, but I don't know if she is real or fake, but she doesn't really wrestle a lot. So, I do like her. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, Charlotte looks like Ric Flair now. Like now. Hello. So, I tell you, Edge, uh, I'm sorry, Christian, he's really, really winning me over. His line about, you're lucky I have a lot of fans, and then to Adam, your mom's a big fan. It was really funny. I mean, Christian is peaking right now. I mean, because you always got the sense in WWE that he was being held back. And, even though him and Edge / Adam Copeland are best friends, it probably burns him a little bit that Edge got the bigger push. So he cut a great promo, and then Edge and I loved the line, and not a lot of people um, picked up on it, that Christian's dig at Edge's run with the Judgment Day and why it didn't work. You had to really be paying attention. There was something to the effect of, I'm not the one who was masquerading with a bunch of fake tough guys in makeup. Um, but to the match, good match. I mean, you could tell that Luchasaurus was, protecting Adam Copeland in the neck. Uh, kind of a weird, um, not pace, but Luchasaurus was dominating for a lot of the match. So much so that an Edge comeback was kind of like, oh, this he can't come back against this. And then, of course, he did make the Hulk Hogan like comeback. Some good spots. Give me a Skakel classic. I mean that could be any number of things, bro. I mean, you got to be specific. Earl, have you seen the Sonny Tammy Sitch adult movie? Nah, I don't want to see that stuff. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Whoa! I'm breaking apart here. I'm breaking. My podcast studio is breaking apart. Um, I don't like to watch. I mean, she looks pretty rough, And hold on here. Well, I mean, let me see here. I didn't read that last one. 'Cause I'm trying to get my. If you were debuting Adam Copeland, he guarantee would have been forced to join. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I won't go over exactly what I said, but I did like Edge's debut. I mean, let's be honest, we all knew he was coming, but I would have done it a little differently. I would have had, long story short, Luchasaurus turn on Christian. So Darby and Luchasaurus are beating the shit out of him. Edge comes out, saves Christian. So in November at the LA pay-per-view, you have Edge and Christian versus Luchasaurus and Darby Allin. You could make it a trios match with Edge, Christian, and Sting, because they both. I mean, Sting is really the reason those two got into wrestling. So that would have been cool to see. And you have Nick Wayne on the other side, but it's probably better off as a tag match. And I love Nick Wayne. For 18 years old, he's really talented. And you could tell he's a natural heel. But, his heel turn didn't make sense. I mean, and I know it's wrestling, but, wrestling's like a movie. You really, you want it to make sense at the end of the day. And I think that him joining Christian, it just doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, the guy's talking about fucking your mom, and all the jokes about your dead dad, and then almost like on a dime, he switches because he wants a father figure. It just, I don't know. I thought it was unnecessary. And then the whole rest of the year, you have Edge and Christian. You have them as tag champs. And then at the London card next summer, you kind of have Edge and Christian against each other. That's the big match because you build up to it a little bit. I mean, everyone wants to see that match, and I just hope they don't shoot their load early with it, because I think you could really, I think the greatest storyline build up ever was Sting and Hogan. The first time, when literally Sting didn't say a word for 9 months, and the build up was so amazing, and then at the end of the day, the match sucked because Sting, I don't think, was in a great place personally. But that's what I hope they do with Christian and Edge. It's a slow burn, and then it's a simmering boil, and then at London, it's those two against each other. That's the main event for London, if they do it right. Like if I was in a room with Tony Khan, I would pitch him that storyline. You haven't become tag champs. They beat the Young Bucks. They beat, say, MJF and Cole. They beat the Righteous, and then, but you could tell, and you have Edge doing all the pinning. So Christian starts to get like upset. And so that's how I would do it. And then, the only thing I didn't like was kind of the baby battle royal, that the match ended with, all of Blackpool Combat coming in to save Copeland, and then Swerve Strickland, Mobile Embassy, and then Danielson and Adam Hangman, Page. Just, I don't know, it was a little messy. But I get they're trying to like set up multiple feuds in the the next couple weeks. So we will have Rampage. Rampage is going to be interesting this week. It's kind of like their B show. I mean, I think Rampage is really AEW's NXT, Collision's a good show. Like, it's going to be tough now with college football in swing. I'm sure the ratings aren't going to be great, but we'll see what happens. So that's my review of AEW Title Tuesdays. We got a few minutes left, so I want to squeeze in a little bit of hockey talk. Tonight is opening night for the Los Angeles Kings against the Colorado Avalanche. Last night was the true opening night. And Connor Bedard, the number one pick, he's the real deal. He's the new McDavid. He looked very good in his debut. He is a little small. And I noticed a few times that his dangles he did in junior, they weren't working against Chris Letang. And it reminded me of, I think, in 1991 or 2 when Alexander Day was the number one pick and came in with a lot of buzz. I mean, Alexander Day, for those of you who remember who he was, he put up like Mario Lemieux-like numbers in juniors. He was the next big thing. And his game just didn't translate into the NHL because he just would try the same dipsy doodle moves that worked in the Quebec Major Junior League. And all right, brother. Thank you, Ross. I know Hockey Talk's going to lose some of you. I mean, I definitely think WWE. I don't know if they're worried about AEW, but I think they watch what they do. I mean, they have too much star power to sit there and just blow off. They're not going to do anything. But Alexander Day did the same things I saw Bedard do last night. He tried all the moves from juniors, and they may work against teenagers, but I remember Day was against, they were playing the Detroit Red Wings, and Day tried the same move 3 straight times on Steve Chason, rest in peace. And you could tell with each time Chason's just laughing at him, going, "This ain't the cue, baby. I've had that move done on me by Gretzky, Messier, Lemieux. You ain't them yet." So I do think that Bedard's going to have to learn to. Hockey's a great sport. Hockey's like Kiss. You turn on a Kiss CD or a record, you're not really impressed. But you see Kiss live. I won't be there tonight, Joel. I'll be at a roast, but I'll be there in spirit. Oh yeah, I mean it's I think they're businessmen. They know exactly whose contracts are coming up. Just like I'm sure Dolph Ziggler will be in AEW sooner than later. But let's get to hockey talk just for a minute. I try and keep these streams about an hour. I mean, they say the average watch time of a stream, that's good. You can play field hockey. It's 11 minutes. So I try not to keep them too long. But, welcome to the NHL, Connor Bedard. May you have a long and certainly a better career than Alexander Day had. That kid just had too much pressure on him. He was known as the savior of the Ottawa Senators, and it just didn't work. Now, I remember like a year or 2 after he retired, I think he came to LA to be an actor, and I was sitting next to him at a King game, and I'm like, "Fuck, man, you should be playing right now, bro." I didn't say that to him. I was just looking. It's kind of like when I saw Todd Marinovich sitting next to me at the King game. Well, I think, but Dolph, they've jobbed him so much that his body's probably relatively healed. Although those power bombs he took from Omos, Jesus Christ, man. You could tell Omos is a little reckless in the ring. So let's go through the Kings lineup and their roster, and we'll call it a day. I saved the hockey talk toward the end because I know that a stream on hockey is probably not going to do that well. That's why I had to buffer it with some wrestling talk. King's biggest question mark is goaltending. Absolutely. I mean, you've got. We'll address the goaltending first. You've got Phoenix Copley, Talbot, and Big Save Dave, who I'm assuming cleared waivers and will play in Ontario. I think they're all still a little shell shocked that Cal Peterson didn't work out. Like they gave him a nice contract. I mean, and I know a lot of my friends who are scouts in the league, and they all said, "Hey, this guy's an NHL goaltender," but it just didn't work out in LA. You know, I don't know why, because you definitely could see flashes of, "Oh, this is our next Jonathan Quick." And so far, it hasn't worked in Philly. I believe they waived him, but I don't think anyone's going to pick him up because the contract is so big. I would say Tampa might take a flyer on him, but yeah, you know, but he makes too much money for Tampa to pick him up. So I hope he figures it out. I was a little shocked that can we get the Mrs. Godzilla bit? That's a little long. It's a little long, but you know, he's a great guy. He came to the Comedy Store last year on my birthday, and we had like a really cool talk about how comedy and goaltending is very similar. Like it's all on you. You know, the defenseman can make a bad pass. I mean, I was watching Tampa Nashville last night, and I think it was at the start of the third period. Tampa wins the draw. The defenseman who the puck went to, he fell down, so he made a bad pass because I think he got scared, and you know, they scored. Nashville had a really nice scoring situation presented to themselves, and they scored a goal 11 seconds into the period. And you know, it wasn't the goalie's fault. It was tic-tac-toe because it was an outnumbered situation because the Tampa guy who fell down didn't really recover. But you know, when you look at the play, it looks like the goalie let in a bad goal 11 seconds in. And it's like a comic doing a bad joke. You know, it's all on you, baby. You could be in a bad band and blame the drummer behind you, but you can't blame the curtain behind you when you're a comic. So yeah, goaltending is definitely a 100%. You know, I just felt bad for Cal, but you know, it's a cutthroat business. You go from being the heir apparent to Jonathan Quick to being jettisoned to Philadelphia. So you know, I mean, it's you know, Copley's not a sexy goaltender, but he wins. I mean, I had a show the other night in the main room, to be honest with you, where every comic before me was kind of bombing, and I did about a half hour, and it was tough. Like that was probably the toughest main room crowd I've ever had, and I didn't bomb. I'd give my set a B minus, but that's bombing to me. Because when you're in the main room, you got to kill or do very well. You can't have an okay set in the main room. But I think that was just the crowd was just really tired when I got up there, and I went on last. So you know, they were dead, and they probably weren't in the best mood because a lot of comics were struggling, and funny comics too. So like that's when I knew the crowd is going to be a tough one tonight, which is very rare. But you know, I survived. But you know, that's one of the very few times I will say it was the crowd. Because you know, when I perform, I judge myself in 3 time zones, if you will. I'm judging myself when I'm on stage. I know when I'm doing well and when I'm not doing well. And then about an hour later, when I get home and I'm relaxing, I judge myself. Okay, was it as bad or as good as I thought it was? And then the final time, I wake up the next day, have an energy drink, and sit back and go, okay, before I throw this one back in the memory banks, how bad or good was it? So when I woke up the next day, I was like, you know, it wasn't that bad. But, you know, Copley is a goaltender. You know, I think it's because he's a little older. People are hesitant to give him credit for the season he had last year. I think from November to the end of the year, he had more wins than anyone. 24 wins in that time frame. And then, you know, probably didn't do his confidence that well that they went out and got Korpisalo and Gavrikov. And I like Korpisalo, but you know, and I'm sure they tried to figure out how to sign him, but because he was signed to a pretty decent deal by Ottawa, I think 4.5 a year. But the Kings are up against the cap, baby. I mean, there is no room for error. And that's why we'll get into the lineup for tonight. So the lines for tonight, opening night, and probably the rest of the season, unless something happens, is Kopitar with Kempe and Byfield on the wings. It's a big year for Byfield. You know, and the training gloves are off. It's like, bro, you've had a couple years now, and yes, you've been injury plagued, but you were the second pick, and we passed on Stutzla to get you. So, you know, the pressure's on him from himself, probably from his line mates and teammates. You know, deep down, some of them are saying, hey, bro, you're the second overall pick. And you know, the Kings are probably internally going, hey, bro, we passed on Stutzla. Don't make us look like idiots. But I think he'll have a good year. I mean, you know, you do see glimpses with Byfield of the speed and the getting in good scoring lanes. You know, he seems to want to pass more than shoot, but, you know, that'll come with experience. So it's a big year for him. Because you got to figure at some point Kopitar's production is going to drop a little bit. But if Byfield's going to go up, it's a wash. And Kempe, he looks great. He might get 50 this year. And then you have, it's unclear who's going to be line 2 and line 3. But probably the most dependable line in hockey is Danault with Arvidsson and Moore. They just work well together. You know, they're all dependable. But there's, I follow. Arvidsson might be out tonight, which is going to be interesting because with the way the cap works for the Kings, I think they're only carrying 21 roster players right now. And with Kaliev's suspension, you know, I think they might not have a full roster tonight. Unless they shoot Arvidsson up like they did Delmer Huddle at the end of North Dallas 40. That's a deep cut for you guys. So if he's not injured, that's going to be the second line. And then the third line, or line 2, whatever it works out to be, is going to be the big new addition, P.L. Dubois, who had a great preseason. He looks hungry, ready to impress his team. Because you got to figure that the pressure's on him right now because he knows he's only 25 and that he's left 2 teams in maybe not the best way. Now, I'm willing to give him a second look because, you know, it's not like Tortorella and Rick Bowness in Winnipeg are known as player coaches, but there's no excuses now. You've signed an 8-year contract. You're not getting out of it anytime soon. So you can't pout. You can't tell the coach to F off. They just gave him another year extension. So Tom McClellan's your coach for the next 2 years. So, you know, now it's, are you worth what we traded, which was significant. And for those of you who don't remember what they traded, over the summer, the Kings got P.L. Dubois from Winnipeg in exchange for Rasmus Kupari, Gabriel Velarde, my good buddy Alex Iafallo, and a second-round pick. So the Kings put all their chips on the table. And his line mate tonight and Saturday night against Carolina will be Kevin Fiala and probably Mr. LaFerriere, number 78, who had a great preseason. And with the booming slapshot man, Arturs Kaliev, serving the final 2 games of his 4-game suspension for a knee against the Anaheim Ducks in a preseason game. You know, this is like a 2-game audition because you got to figure with the way the cap is at, as soon as after Saturday's game against Carolina, Kaliev will get back in that spot. And it's a big year for Kaliev, to be honest with you, because, you know, like Byfield, you know, you've had, now he's done pretty well. I mean, he's proven he's an NHL goal scorer, but he hasn't been able to get off the 4th line. And now he's on the 3rd line with 2 great players in Fiala and Dubois. And you got to figure Fiala and Dubois will get the lion's share of the defensive coverage. You got to figure, hey, we got to watch Fiala, we got to watch Dubois, and yeah, like number 34 guy, he's got a big shot, but you know, he's the guy we can concentrate on the least. So I would be disappointed if Kaliev scored less than 25 goals this year with those two. And then the fourth line will be a pretty dependable line. Friend of the Comedy Store, the great Carl Grunstrom, who when I met him a couple of years ago, I said, dude, you're going to be our Thomas Holmstrom. Just watch it. And then Blake Lizotte, very dependable, energy center. And then Trevor Lewis. I was a little surprised they brought in Trevor Lewis. And bringing in Trevor Lewis is probably why we lost Samuel Fagemo to the Nashville Predators. Kind of a bummer. But the reality is, the Kings roster is pretty stacked up front. There's really no open spots. And if you look at the guys who are probably ahead of Fagemo, you've got LaFerriere, Alex Turcotte, who the Kings drafted, I think, 4 ahead of Trevor Zegras. So like Byfield, there's pressure on Turcotte to finally show what he's made of. Poor guy's just been injured with bad concussions the last couple of years. And Chromiak, I don't think Chromiak's ready for the NHL, but he's certainly an up-and-comer. So, Fagemo is really, it's too bad because he scored a goal in his first game with Nashville. But, you can't sign them all. Not everyone makes the team. So, the Kings are pretty set up forward this year, unless barring injuries, which no team does not go through injuries. And then on defense, we've got the ageless Drew Doughty, his partner Mikey Anderson, a great second pairing with Matt Roy and Gavrikov, who they signed for 2 years over the summer. And then the third pairing is a bit of a mystery. I think they sent Jordan Spence down, even though he had the best camp. And they, because they, the Kings are kind of up against it, so I think tonight it's going to be Tobias Bjornfort and England, the big defenseman. I know Clark. This is unbelievable. I've had to live next to this shit for a year. The roof, this. I like England. He's a big, kind of bare bones defenseman. I really wanted the Kings to sign Radko Gudas, but they just didn't have the money. I also know the Kings were kicking the tires on Tom Wilson, but that contract he signed in Washington, there's no way the Kings could have matched it. So that's the lineup. I think the extra players, I think a defenseman. But, I know today, as of today, the Kings cap situation is so fucked up that almost every day they have to do these weird call-ups and send-downs. So I don't know if Spence was recalled today at the time of this stream. But that's the opening night roster of the LA Kings. The Pacific's going to be a dogfight between the Kings and the Kraken and obviously the champs, the Golden Knights, Edmonton. It's a 3-horse race, I think, between Edmonton, Vegas, and the Kings. And then, Seattle's a real, they're going to be very good. And, you got to figure Calgary's going to be better. This is unbelievable. 100%. And my condo's been appraised at $1.1 million, but you'd be surprised at how little 1.1 gets you. I'm working with this realtor, and he literally was sending me, he's like, what can you afford? Well, I said, well, I'll basically do a trade with whatever I get from my condo and put it into a house. And he's like, bro, you're not going to get a house for 1.1, which is crazy to me. That's $1 million. And then he sent me homes that were literally in Compton. I'm like, bro, have you seen my skin color? Hello. It ain't what it should be if I want to live in Compton. I wouldn't say it's a dump, but it's a fixer. Like I looked at one home the other night. I go house hunting at 2 in the morning because I want to see what the neighborhood looks like at night when I'd be getting home from comedy. And there's a house on the edge of Sherman Oaks and Encino. It's a nice house, small, but you're literally it's your backyard, which is a big backyard for a house that price, and then the 101 wall. Like literally, your house is on the 101 freeway. I mean, it's insane. But I'm really looking at getting out of West Hollywood because just the crime and the traffic is insane. So that's why I'm in the process of selling my hockey jersey collection. That could help put an extra few bucks in the house account. So, and then, once I have, like, I make good money in comedy and voiceovers, but, if I can make a few bucks, yeah, 100%, William, uh, streaming, and I don't think I'm going to make millions of dollars streaming, but, I'm looking into a Twitch channel because I'm buying a new TV and a PlayStation 5, and some of my friends make pretty good money having people watch them play video games. Like, that's insane to me. So on a week where I don't have a lot of spots, maybe I Twitch a little bit, put a few bucks in the bank, whatever. And, we'll see what happens, I mean, Harrison Ford is still acting in his 80s. Like, you got to really hoof it in this business. Stallone is still making movies. Stallone could have retired 1,000,000 years ago. But, he doesn't make any money from the Rocky movies. How fucking crazy is that? Everyone gets fucked in this business. When Stallone's getting fucked? What a schlub like me gets? Look at that bicep. Looks pretty good. So that's about it, guys. I appreciate all you watching and putting up with my AEW and hockey talk. I might, thinking of what to do stream-wise. I might do a weekly recap show after Dynamite. I might wait and do a recap show, every Monday on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, and if there's a pay-per-view for AEW, or I might just do them, individually. So we'll see. If you can share this and retweet it or whatever, that helps me out. And I will see you guys soon. No spots this week at the Comedy Store, but if you're local to Los Angeles, you want to come, or you're visiting, let me know on Instagram. Follow me everywhere: Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Everything is the same, at Earl Skakel. And I appreciate the support. Watch Jordan, the Lions Days with Jordan. It's the #1 vlog on YouTube. So you got to help your friends. They help you, you help me, I help them. It all works out. So check that out, and I'll let you guys know how the roast of Popeye was. Blood in, blood out. I did not make it to Power Trip, Joel, but my friend Chris Ramirez got me the best. Take care, brother. Take care. Don't move to Austin. It sucks here. I don't think I will. Thank you, guys. My friend got me the best Beavis and Butthead Power Trip shirt. They also had a shirt that was made out of cactus trees, or there was a devil horn sign, but with cactus, but it was sold out. But you will see my Beavis and Butthead Power Trip shirt. I didn't go because it was just fuck that. I've been to Coachella before. It's pretty much one way in, one way out, and I knew there was going to be like 100,000 plus. And when I saw Brian Slagle's report from the first day, how bad, the presentation was, I was like, no. I was thinking about going to Judas Priest. It's unbelievable, fucking unbelievable. I really want to see Judas Priest and AC/DC. I've seen Guns N' Roses enough, and I was not going to try to get to Coachella on a Friday. Fuck that. Unbelievable. That's a sign to end Yes, you will, Joel. Inappropriate Earl, Friday, Aaronville Potty. Watch for it on YouTube, Friday afternoon.